Behold! The sword of power. Excalibur.
Yes. Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. We're talking Excalibur. One of my favorite movies of all time. This is a recent release Blu-ray 4K presentation of the 1981 amazing King Arthur movie, Excalibur. I was very happy to see this finally got released, and I wanted to do a little discussion about the movie and my thoughts about this Blu-ray release. Excalibur, a story as old as time, the King Arthur legend, told really well from Arthur's birth to his death. Minor spoilers. This is the best version of the King Arthur telling that I know of, with the possible exception of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This is the de facto way to do the King Arthur movie. Now, as I say, this is a 4K Ultra DVD release, and I was worried, I don't have a 4K television. So when I first got this, I was thinking, am I even going to be able to see this? Like, it has a few extras, and one of which I would watch, or would be able to watch on this 1080p television. But I asked around a bunch of forums. I said, I've got a PlayStation 5. It plays high-definition Blu-ray 4K discs. Will it downgrade the signal so it'll play on my television? And thankfully, people said yes. I'm going to show you the unboxing where I asked myself that very question. Let's go here. Okay, let's unbox it. I've got my own Excalibur here, so let's give this a little start. I'm very curious to know. I have been avoiding seeing other people unbox theirs because I want to be surprised. It's got a nice box set. It's got it's well presented, so I just want to see. Lord, this thing is hard to get into. I want to see, without doing any damage, what do we get in the box? Here we go. Aha! Excalibur! Risen from the waters. Look at that. Yes. Features HDR high dynamic range. Oh man, oh man, oh man. That is good. See, I always liked, I do have Excalibur on DVD. I got the old one, which is okay, but I always thought this is the front cover artwork you want to use. That's the painting that you should be using for your advertising. Not the dumb Photoshop together picture of Arthur holding his sword in some kind of generic fantasy castle in the distance. This is the one you want to do. So let's take this thing off. I want to see what's inside. Okay, what do we got? Does this thing slide out? I think so. Oh, hang on. Okay, box in a box. Very nice. But this opens up. Oh no, it's just it's a couple. Oh, there's the sword itself and the Grail. But we have a couple of discs. Okay, I thought it would do like an opening up thing like I've seen other box sets do. But what do we got here? This is the surprise. Ooh. Oh, I say. Nice little booklet. Tons of info. Tons of pictures. Wow, okay. Going to be looking through this later on. Fantastic. Wow, okay. Nice. Going to be reading that one. And this is the poster, no doubt, of the cover thing. Okay, yeah, so that poster there, and on the other side, that poster there, which I have seen. Okay, very, very nice. I like that. And then we have the 4K Ultra HD Excalibur disc set with multiple discs. We have the movie in 4K. Now, I'm going to be very curious if I can even watch it because my TV is not 4K capable, but my PlayStation 5 is, so if I put the disc in, I think it will display in some form. What do we got here? These little lobby card things? What are these? Yeah, I think that's... Oh, okay, you want more Arrow video? Yeah, okay. So that's one part of the poster. There's another part of another poster. Oh, these are nice. These are very nice. Excellent, excellent. Essentially, they've taken bits of the posters. Anything on the back? Oh! There's Nicol Williamson. Do we have something on the back here? Oh, okay, different cast, not necessarily related to what's on the front. That's very cool. And then Guinevere, cool, very nice, very nice. So, yeah, set of lobby cards. This, Want more from Arrow Video. I'm guessing this is advertising. And then we got disc 1, which I believe is the movie in 4K, the original theatrical version. One of these is the special features that I'm totally going to be checking out. And the other one is, oh, that must be the special features there. That's the bonus disc. This one, I believe, is the television release, but at least it's in 1080p. So, as I say, I'm hoping my PlayStation will convert this 4K theatrical original to something I can view. But that's everything that comes in the box, and I'm very pleased. I really, really like it. Very nice. So now let's do a review of the disc itself. So, Excalibur, the movie, fantastic, and never really had a good home release. It's been on DVD and Blu-ray before, but they were always like very washed out images, bad aspect ratio stuff, which I'm going to get into with this. And it was never really a crisp, good version of the film. I can report back, this one is. This looks amazing. Even on a downgraded from a PlayStation 5 to a 1080p television, it looks great. It's the full 2-hour, 20-minute movie, which is fantastic because sometimes you can't get that full version anywhere. Also, it has really good extra features on it. Now, there are pluses and minuses to all that, and I'm going to go into those here. But I did want to point out, when I say I love Excalibur, I mean it. It came out when I was just getting into Dungeons & Dragons, so of course, this imagery, these suits of armor, Merlin the Magician, and all of the magic that occurs, and just the glorious cinematic experience that this film is, it was perfect timing. Like, this is the time for me to get into a King Arthur movie. I'm playing D&D, I'm at the right age for all of this gore and blood and guts and sexy stuff to all hit me at the right moment, and I just thought this is one of the greatest movies of all time. I count this as my 4th favorite film after the original Star Wars trilogy. Like, it's Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, and then Excalibur. That's how highly I regard this film. And I've always wanted a good home release, and it's been doggedly missing the boat all these years. Thankfully, I can report this is a good version. Now, one downside I will point out right away, it's a bit dark. It's got some hard, difficult to see bits. I think they wanted to make the transfer as close to the original as possible, but even in these lighting conditions, it's really, really dark. I know you can't really see all that clearly. However, this is one of the scenes that is an improvement. Igraine does a dance for the king, and in previous versions, the music, especially in this bit here, was always really overly loud, like you're spiking the microphone on the speaker. Thankfully, I can say that has been improved. So, for example, there are very interesting tricks and sleight of hand that John Boorman did in making the film that always impressed me, and you get to see them here. For example, there's a lot of bits where Merlin will suddenly appear, and it's like, as the audience we're being shown by the framing, here comes Merlin, and it's just a little wink to the audience that I think John Boorman intended, and it's really impressive. Also, used to great effect. There's so many bits where Merlin suddenly travels great distances. So they have now determined the sword has been drawn, and the knights are off to fight. And if you've seen the movie, you know the plot line already. Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard. But look at, like, they've already got, there's Merlin as this tiny little figure. Like, John Boorman does these great little moments of playing with your expectations and using magic in a way that was so analog and low-key and well done. This bit especially, he grabs Arthur to tell him, you are the land and the land will be you. And Arthur does not agree with that. He doesn't want to believe that. And so he lurches away, and suddenly Merlin is just gone. Like, really well done. The level of sleight of hand that John Boorman does in this film, fantastic. Again, I don't know if you can make out the details. The level of brightness is very, very low. But Nicol Williamson as Merlin, a really interesting take on the character, something that I think, I don't know if he was just deciding he was going to do something zany and weird. It comes across a bit weird, but it's a really good interpretation of the character. And This has always been one of my favorite bits, and I remember a buddy of mine saying when I saw it in the theater, if you look, Merlin's just traipsing through the forest, no problem at all, and Arthur's struggling to keep up with him. Now, was that they plowed a bit of land for Nicol Williamson to walk on? Nigel Terry's got to scramble through the brush? I don't know. But it just works so well, and the whole movie is full of this level of polish and detail. It makes you think, what are we... There's hints for the audience to pay attention, and I really like the fact that John Boorman did this in this film. Now, just while we're at this intro bit for Arthur, I wanted to bring up aspect ratio. That's always been a part of the movie that threw me off, because when I first fired this up, I thought, wait a minute, this is the wrong aspect ratio. It fills my screen properly. There's no black bars on the top and bottom. Where's that wide 70mm experience that I remember seeing in the theaters? I was totally wrong. It was actually 1:6:6 by 1 aspect ratio that John Boorman used. And so when it's converted to the frame here, it actually fills up the screen almost exactly. There's very, very slight bars on the sides. It's a pillar box, not a letter box. And I thought, wait a minute. When I first fired up this disc, I was like, wait a minute. That's not right. That's not how I remember it. Get me the proper aspect ratio. I thought it was my PlayStation not showing the screen the proper way. No, in researching it, John Boorman was very much into 1:6:6 by 1 aspect ratio. That was typical of a lot of British production at the time. A lot of the James Bond movies of the 70s were 1:6:6. Somebody also brought up Hope and Glory, another John Boorman film, also 1:6:6 aspect ratio. So this is the correct aspect ratio. It just doesn't seem like it. Now I want to re-show this bit where Arthur and his dad and his brother show up at the tournament. Again, I thought this was a widescreen shot. Hector tells his sons, it looks far worse than it feels. Right here, you'll see the camera pans across. Here. I thought that was a widescreen shot that had been panned, but no, it was like that originally. And there's another shot like that where, again, my memory of it in the theater was, that's a widescreen. Why are they panning across? John Boorman actually panned the camera in that shot. Another one, Arthur goes to help Patrick Stewart's castle where he meets Guinevere. Great bit here where Nicol Williamson whispers into the ears of the horses a magic spell to make them go. Again, just the simplest little trick of filming, and yet it works so perfectly well. Here, what do you see this? Like, I just love that. I love that scene. However, we're not here to talk about the magic of the moment. We're talking about framing. Arthur climbs up the battlements, and there's a shot coming up. Guinevere is, cornered off to one side. She sees Arthur making his way up the wall, and I thought for sure the scene involved her on the edge of the screen and Arthur on the other. Now, there is a follow-up scene that is like that, but as you'll see here, the way I remember it is wrong. So, right here, Arthur starts climbing. We've got this pan. I thought for sure we saw Guinevere here. We do later when he's getting attacked. What do you see? Again, apologies, it's a bit dark. Yeah, now we see her reacting to him being attacked. But I remember that in that previous shot being both of them in the same angle, and yet here I am watching it, I'm like, I guess I remembered that wrong? So, aspect ratio is a weird one. I thought for sure it's a big widescreen 70mm type experience. No, it's always been 1:6:6 to 1, and it fills a standard high-definition television properly. Okay, I had to draw the curtains because it's just way too different in the light here. You're not going to be able to see what's going on screen. This is one of my favorite bits. Percival has tried once before in his quest to find the Holy Grail, and it speaks great volumes to me, this scene, on how Excalibur, especially given it's 1981, he says here that he can't give up the quest, and he can't give up hope. It's all he's got. There is this wonderful level of, what's the opposite of toxic masculinity? Positive masculinity. There is that in here. Percival feels fear. He feels despair. And he's not alone. Arthur himself is similar. Culminating in my favorite scene in the entire film. This is toward the end. Arthur is preparing to do battle with Mordred at the end of the big climactic fight. And he has not reunited with Merlin in this bit, but he has a final word with Merlin. And it's so beautifully filmed, beautifully acted. The music is incredible. I'm going to do another video about the music someday, because that's a side thing. But I highly encourage, if you haven't seen this movie, oh my God, are you missing out? You have to see this. It is the best telling of the Arthurian legend I've ever encountered. Now, it's not all perfect. In addition to the fact that it's super dark, and I've had to draw some curtains just so you can see what's going on screen, the extras are good. There is a never-before-seen making of Excalibur. It's good. The one that's kind of worth noting, though, is To Be a Knight and Follow a King. That is a recent interview with John Boorman. And I will be charitable and say he's a cinematic genius, but he is in his 90s now. And it's kind of rough to watch. I hate to say that. He's still got all his faculties, but he's a bit slow off the mark for the interview part of things, having conversations. You kind of get the feeling that the person asking the questions is having a struggle to pull more information out of John Boorman. But it was 45 years ago. What do you expect the man to know now? And when you're in your 90s, are you really that quick off a whip? Ironically and perfectly, Charlie Boorman, his son, who plays young Mordred in the film, I think showed up because you hear in the background, hey, Charlie's arrived. And Charlie then kind of takes over the interview. And he's great. He tells some great stories. Really, really like that. Next is When Death Was But a Dream, which is an interview with Neil Jordan, the creative consultant for Excalibur. He's fine. He's very self-effacing and very humble, and I appreciate that in a Hollywood production not Hollywood, but in the movie world, to have somebody who's quite modest is a nice change. But he's sort of a little rambly about the Irish film scene was almost dead at the time. And, we've done a few things. I'm interested to see some of Neil Jordan's work. He did In a Company of Wolves, I really want to check out. Then there's The Charm of Making, which is an interview with production designer Anthony Pratt, who is very passionate about what he does, and he goes through his sketchbooks and that. But again, he's probably in his 80s himself, and if you don't love Excalibur the way I love Excalibur, and you're watching these interviews, you might be like a little, this is an effort to get through. And I feel bad saying that. There's so many good things here. I don't want to be, punching down. But when you are an audience member who's used to very slick and polished making-ofs, whether special features on a disc or a YouTube video that talks about how we made this incredible show, when you're used to that, these can be a little bit of a struggle to get through. So I would say be aware that there is an effort involved on your behalf as an audience member to enjoy the special features that come on this disc. But I'm going to leave it there. That is my review, my thoughts, my feelings about the Excalibur Ultra DVD 4K restoration, an amazing movie that's been properly given the correct home experience. I really, really love this show. I highly recommend you at least check out the film. The box set is glorious and fantastic for those of us who are very passionate about this movie. If you're just a casual sort of D&D interested player, viewer, check it out. If you know somebody who's got it, you can borrow it, whatever. I really like it. I'm very happy to have got it. I'm so pleased that my fourth favorite film of all time now has a proper home version that I can enjoy anytime. Even though it is a bit dark. These are daytime scenes. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So, yes, Excalibur on 4K home DVD. Fantastic movie, literally, in the sense of the magic that's on screen. And just the acting and the scenery and the polish, there is definitely a lot of magic going on the screen. I'm going to leave it there. So until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.